We know this town now. The good days, the wind, the routine, the limits, and whether we choose to ever live here again.
Going in, we thought we'd have that classic French Mediterranean experience. You get the markets, you get the sunshine, feeling like you actually fit into local life for a little while.
What we got was a quieter, more muted version of that. Winter in Sète is just not the same town as summer in Sète.
Yeah, the beach was there, but it was closed. The fishing culture was still there, but it was kind of tucked away.
The Mediterranean was basically right outside our door, and mostly we watched it from inside.
Yeah, but for what we needed, a stable base for slow travel through the winter, Sète really worked for us.
The question was whether it would still feel that way after 3 months.
Every morning started the same way. Coffee in the apartment, and then looking out the window to see what the weather was doing.
If it was cold and windy, we'd take a bus. If it was reasonable out, we'd walk.
Yeah, anything to get your steps in on a good day.
We'd just head out and explore in different directions every time.
Yeah, it didn't even matter which way you were going. It was, how far do you think we'll get to today?
And we would just keep going and go farther and farther and farther. But it was nice to be able to just pick a direction and go. It can be done in Sète. There's just so much to see just in all the different directions because of its location on the water.
Yeah. The only time that I got really busy was on Wednesdays when there was a farmer's market. And that really flooded the streets with the neighbors. You could tell that the whole neighborhood kind of comes out and sees what this farmer's market's about, especially when it's nice out. They'd even fill the canal streets when...
It was like knowing what it might be like in the summer or the spring even.
Oh.
It was other days, aside from that one day, it was so quiet you didn't know where everybody had gone. And then when everybody would come out on Wednesdays, you're like, where'd everybody come from?
Yeah.
So it can get energetic and busy during the winter, but on Wednesdays, not the rest of the week.
Yeah, we could see if they had a festival, it would get really crowded really quick. And it would get lively and exciting around there.
We would tell ourselves at least once a week that maybe we should try and get up early and go check out the fishermen getting ready in the mornings, because that was probably the other time that Sète was busy.
Yeah,
But
we definitely wanted to know what the hubbub was all about with this Sète fisherman's town. So if we could see all the fishing boats kind of doing their thing, it would be really neat first thing in the morning. But we never got up that early to do it. We did see them come in a couple times, which was really neat, but that was it.
We went up to Mont Saint-Clair a couple of times, and that's an overlook that Sète has that's just magnificent. You can see for miles and miles. And you can see the oyster farms on one end and the Mediterranean on the other side.
It really is a beautiful lookout.
And it gives you a perspective of what the streets are down below. And so we know that, oh, there's more in that direction. We should just try and walk in that way, instead of, thinking that you were clustered to these canals only near the old town.
Right. And honestly, we took the bus up there and we'd hike back down. So pro tip,
Yeah.
easier to go down than to get up.
Sète has a few museums, and we thought, oh, maybe we'll pick up on one of those on maybe a rainy day. And we never made it to the museums, because on a rainy day, you just looked out the window and thought, it's so nice and cozy in here. So we never really ended up using the museums, and we weren't even sure they were open.
I think that's why we stayed in on rainy days, because it was such a crapshoot of would they even be open on a good day, honestly. So our rainy days were kept inside more than others.
By the end of the first month, we had seen everything Sète had to offer. The same walks, the same stops, the same meals. Groceries in Sète were affordable for us, and most weeks we kept things simple.
Supermarkets were all over the place, and we found them to be incredibly useful and have pretty good deals every single week. We liked 3 of them right off the bat. It was a giant Auchan, and then a Monoprix that was really close to us.
Very convenient.
And then Carrefour City that seemed to have specialty things that we liked every once in a while.
The Auchan was huge.
Absolutely.
It had everything. It had housewares. They even set up special aisles for the holidays as they approached. it was the place to go to that you knew that you were going to be able to get everything. But we would have to take a bus in the winter because it was about a 45-minute walk away from Old Town. And Carrefour, it was a walk, but not as far.
Not too bad.
And we would go there specifically for
the Speculoos ice cream, which are the Biscoff cookies all crushed up into vanilla ice cream, which is absolutely delicious.
I thought you were going to say the wine because that's where you go. You can lose them there for who knows how long choosing a wine.
They did have a really good wine selection, but I think you liked the cookies when we
that
went.
was the ice cream was definitely me. And the Monoprix was right around the corner from us, so we went there way more than anywhere else. But they had a good selection of everything for the limited amount of aisles that they had.
Yeah.
They had good produce, and we'd pick up our basics too there. Yogurt for breakfast. There was butter all the time, and lardons, which is a base.
And they had a good meat selection, which we really liked. So we were able to get chicken and beef bourguignon pretty regularly.
And after picking up the butter, you go pick up your baguette for the day. And we picked up a baguette or two every day.
We probably cooked most of what we ate, and we did that on the regular. I mean, we would probably go out to Boulangeries and patisseries maybe 4 times a week and pick up a palmier or a croissant or a pound of chocolate.
Definitely a special treat.
They were absolutely amazing multiple times a week. But then we'd also try and go out to eat, and I think we only ended up eating twice in the 3 months that we were there. It was pretty good. We did pizza and Indian food. And do you remember the places?
I want to say there were a few restaurants open. It was winter, so most of everything was closed, but a lot of these restaurants were seafood. And what we tested out first was a pizza place called Pizzaiolo. We took it with us.
Cap India was the name Indian food place.
Cap India Sète.
Outside of meals, there are all the normal things that you deal with anywhere too. Our Airbnb had a washing machine, so we basically carried everything that we washed down around the corner to a laundromat called Laverie de Delphine.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't very expensive either. So it was very convenient. Instead of drying our clothes in the Airbnb.
Yeah, because it's in Europe, they air dry everything. So you have towel racks and clothes racks everywhere, or even clotheslines outside windows if you're lucky. But this one was really cool because literally right around the corner from our building, we had a washer and dryer, which we took advantage of sometimes. But
it was very convenient. And sometimes we would just do the wash and the dry over at the laundromat. For 6 kilos a wash, you paid €4. For 10 minutes of drying, it was only €1.30. And we found it day 1 or day 2 of arrival. So we really did utilize the laundromat very often. Trash and recycling in the neighborhood was very convenient for us.
I loved how eco-friendly Sète was, where you could really tell that they took advantage of all the recycling program that they had there. Glass, paper, and plastic and it was everywhere. All over the place.
So you could either go down from our apartment and it was right there and you could drop everything off as we headed out every day or every other day. Or if you forgot and you just had some recycling in your bag along the way, these, what would you call them? These bins, these chutes, because they actually go down underground and you wonder how that gets resolved. They're everywhere. They're very convenient. There are also pharmacies everywhere. I think they're just pharmacies all over France to carry all of the conveniences.
Like Colgate or BioTrue.
And CeraVe, there's plenty of those. They don't have Crest.
No, still haven't found the Crest over here.
Crest for me. We were looking for an Allen wrench, and we came across this place called Drogerie Lubrano, and Drogerie stands for hardware store, it turns out, right?
It was a potluck store, let me tell you.
But it wasn't just a hardware store. It was incredible, actually. While we were searching to find this Allen wrench, they had wallpaper in one section. They had fish
tanks and fish food.
Fish supplies or fish food. And then they had a whole kitchen section where you could pick up it just had everything.
They even made keys if you needed them.
We utilized La Poste, which is the post office in Sète and France. And we didn't really know how to communicate, so we would prepare ourselves. But it turned out we didn't really need to speak much while we were there because they have self-service and we take care of it that way. But we did get away with, your typical c'est bon? Is this good? And they would take the letter from us in the end. And I don't think they even realized we didn't speak French. So that was fun.
We had a lot of paperwork to go out for CPAM, and that came in really handy. We even got mail back in our Airbnb, which was awesome because that's really why we were there for so long. I got a haircut. I tried to research as much as possible to try and find a good one. I did find one that was under $20, which worked out really great. I'd probably go back if
you need another haircut.
If I need one more.
Yeah, all of these errands, we made copies at a local place called Tier Plan, and we got to know the employee there because we went in a few times. We got to know everybody at the Monoprix as well. You're running all these errands every day. You start to see familiar faces.
Yeah, and after about a month, I think we really found a boulangerie that we loved across the canal from us, and we kept on going back there. So
they were open the latest, and so that made it even more convenient.
Well, I think it was because they made fresh baguettes like basically every hour on the hour.
Yeah,
so you'd show up
and it was warm.
Yes.
Should.
So you have your boulangeries, your pharmacies, and your grocery stores, and those all just became part of our daily walking route every single day. Sète is very walkable and mostly flat, except for a few dramatic uphill climbs.
Which is a good thing that their bus system is so reliable. And there are so many buses to choose from and use to get in every direction around Sète. Very convenient.
We downloaded the app for the bus schedule
as soon as we arrived.
Right, and it was super cheap, very affordable. We ended up getting a 10-pack for €10. So anytime that we took the bus, it was basically €1 a ride.
And it would have been, what, €1.30, I think. We never paid it.
Right.
But it was €1.30 if you just took an individual ride. And it was so easy to just tap your phone up against or read the QRC code and just join the ride. We definitely used a lot of these buses to venture out. And we used them like a hop on, hop off almost. Because you would get to see in that direction what was there before deciding if we wanted to venture out even farther to go see more, or just get off at any stop and just walk our way back and see what we saw on the way back.
So not only was it super convenient for those long stretches, we used them for even when we were loaded up on groceries and didn't want to walk back with the big haul, we'd like spend the extra euro and just jump on the bus.
And the big bonus of their bus system was this one bus, the number 8 bus. It was a big surprise to us when we went to use it to go out to the Carrefour, and it was free. We couldn't find a QRC code anywhere, and the driver finally let us know, like, no, it's free.
Right. We even used that to get to the train station for free when we left.
We didn't even realize that until we were about to leave, and it said that's the best bus to take now to get to the train station. So it was a nice surprise. So you can take the 8 bus when you arrive, when you depart, and it's free from the train station. It's probably why they do it. But the walk wasn't that far for us, and when we arrived, we actually walked to Old Town.
Even with all our luggage, we were able to get from the train station to our Airbnb without any problems.
Yeah, so when we didn't take the bus, we were walking. It was very easy to walk around Sète. It was just so beautiful and picturesque that you could just walk for hours and not even realize that you had been walking for so long.
Between buses and walking, we basically got everywhere that we needed or wanted to be in Sète in the first 6 weeks. By about the second month, we knew that we wouldn't do another 3-month stay in Sète. We had our regular places, recognized the people around town, knew where everything was, and felt pretty comfortable.
But we also felt like we had gotten to know most of what winter Sète was going to be for us. So for a day trip or a weekend, yes, I think Sète is a marvelous place to visit. And we saw a lot of families doing that. And they're mostly from France, you could tell, or nearby enough, not from outside of the country. They would come in and they would walk the canals and go up to Mont Saint-Clair to see the beautiful view and maybe sit at the cafes, even in the cold.
Right.
But you could see you could tell that they were just coming to visit and explore.
It was a good day trip for people, and you saw that happen quite a bit. For a longer stay, for maybe a week, if you wanted to be a little bit more laid back and quieter and explore kind of like the far out areas like we did,
yeah.
Then I would take in Sète for a longer period of time, no problem.
For about a week. at most. But for 3 months in the winter, it worked for us. we needed a stable address for all of our admin stuff for CPAM and the visa, and we were able to get mail.
But it also worked out great as being a hub for us to visit all the areas around us.
All those towns that we were able to see, because the train is right there. It's very convenient, especially with that number 8 bus. We're also comfortable with the quiet and the routine. If you need restaurants that are open, consistent things to do, and
variety, Sète is not going to really provide you with that in the winter.
Yeah, not here, not in the winter. For a long stay in summer, the town opens up, but the crowds and the tourist traffic, well, that comes with it. August pricing on a short-term rental, that's going to run you 2 to 3 times the winter rate. So a 1-bedroom that costs 60 to 90 euros a night in the winter is going to easily run 200 or more in August. We'd go back for a day or a weekend.
Well, we would not choose to come back here for another 3-month stay.
The logistics worked, the address served its purpose.
And the base camp model strategy worked exactly as planned.
There is just not enough variety in Sète to hold us for another long stretch.
What is the one thing that could make or break a long stay for you somewhere? We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.